They found it. Deep beneath the Temple of the Sun in Machu Picchu, concealed behind perfectly fitted stones that have stood for 600 years, archaeologists have breached a chamber that was never meant to be opened. Inside, they discovered something that contradicts everything we know about the Inca. Astronomical instruments calibrated to stars that weren't visible from Earth in the 15th century. Crystalline structures that generate measurable electromagnetic fields, and carved into the walls, mathematical equations that wouldn't be formalized until the 20th century. This isn't an Inca burial site. This is something far older, far stranger, and it suggests Machu Picchu was built on top of something the Inca themselves didn't fully understand. Hit that like button and subscribe, because what lies beneath Peru's most famous ruins will rewrite ancient American history. The discovery began with erosion. Heavy rainfall in early 2024 caused a partial collapse near the base of the Temple of the Sun, exposing a section of wall that didn't match the surrounding architecture. The stones were larger, cut with even greater precision than Inca masonry, and they showed no signs of weathering, as if they'd been sealed away from the elements for far longer than 6 centuries. Ground-penetrating radar revealed what the naked eye couldn't see: a void space approximately 40 feet below the temple floor, accessible through a narrow passage that had been deliberately filled with rubble and sealed with a mixture of clay and crushed stone. The seal wasn't just functional, it was ceremonial, marked with symbols that predated known Inca iconography. When the excavation team carefully removed the fill material, they discovered the passage descended at a precise 23-degree angle, the exact tilt of Earth's axial obliquity. This wasn't coincidence. The ancient builders understood astronomy and had incorporated celestial mechanics into the structure's design. The walls of the passage were lined with a dark, volcanic stone that seemed to absorb light, creating an unsettling sense of depth as the team descended. At the base of the passage, they encountered a sealed doorway. Unlike the trapezoidal entrances typical of Inca architecture, this door was rectangular and massive, a single slab of andesite weighing several tons, fitted so precisely into the surrounding frame that a knife blade couldn't slip between the joints. The surface was smooth, almost polished, with no visible tool marks to indicate how it had been shaped. Carved into the center of the door was a symbol that stopped the team cold, a spiral within a spiral, surrounded by geometric patterns that resembled circuitry more than traditional decorative motifs. When they ran their hands over it, several team members reported a tingling sensation, and magnetometers detected unusual field fluctuations near the carving. Using hydraulic jacks and extreme caution, they shifted the massive door just enough to peer inside. The chamber beyond was pristine, untouched by time, with air that emerged cold and dry despite the humid jungle environment outside. And in the beam of their flashlights, something gleamed from the darkness, something metallic, something that shouldn't exist in pre-Columbian South America. The chamber measured approximately 60 feet in diameter, carved from living bedrock with walls so smooth they reflected light like polished glass. The ceiling arced overhead in a perfect dome, and when the team tested the acoustics, they discovered the space had been designed to amplify sound at specific frequencies that matched the resonant tones used in meditation and altered states of consciousness. But the architecture was only the beginning. The floor was inlaid with a circular mosaic made from thousands of precisely cut stones, obsidian, quartz, jade, and metals, including copper and what appeared to be platinum. The pattern wasn't decorative, it was a map. When photographed from above, the design revealed a star chart showing constellations as they appeared approximately 12,000 years ago, during the last ice age, thousands of years before the Inca civilization existed. At the center of the chamber stood a structure unlike anything found in Inca archaeology. It resembled an altar or platform, constructed from a single piece of translucent crystal, possibly quartz, standing about 4 feet high. The crystal was carved with extraordinary precision, its faces aligned to catch and refract light from specific angles. When the team set up portable lighting, the crystals seemed to glow from within, casting rainbow patterns across the chamber walls. Embedded around the base of the crystal platform were metallic rods, approximately 2 feet long, made from an alloy that initial analysis suggested was primarily copper, mixed with trace amounts of gold and an unidentified element. The rods were positioned at exact intervals, creating a geometric pattern that resembled ancient descriptions of energy grids or ley lines. More disturbing, the rods generated measurable electromagnetic fields even without any apparent power source. The walls of the chamber told a story in relief carvings that combined Inca motifs with much older symbols. There were depictions of figures that appeared human, but with elongated skulls and 6 fingers on each hand, anatomical features that matched the mysterious elongated skulls found in nearby Paracas and other ancient Peruvian sites. These figures were shown manipulating objects that resembled modern scientific instruments, devices with lenses, tools that projected beams of light, and what looked remarkably like astronomical observatories. In one section, the carvings depicted a catastrophic event: massive waves, mountains crumbling, the sun and moon appearing in the sky simultaneously. The imagery was consistent with ancient flood narratives found worldwide, but these showed something additional: the construction of structures to survive the cataclysm, including what appeared to be underground chambers connected by tunnels. Machu Picchu, the carvings suggested, might be one site in a network of sanctuaries built before the disaster. In alcoves carved into the chamber walls, the team discovered artifacts that challenged conventional understanding of ancient American capabilities. There were tools made from hardened metals, implements for cutting, drilling, and shaping stone with precision that modern engineers struggle to replicate. The cutting edges showed microscopic serrations that could only be produced with advanced metallurgy or perhaps laser technology. One artifact in particular drew intense scrutiny: a disc approximately 18 inches in diameter, made from a metal that appeared to be gold but was significantly harder and more durable. The disc was engraved with concentric circles divided into segments, each containing symbols that combined numbers, geometric shapes, and representations of celestial bodies. Researchers recognized it immediately as an astronomical calculator, similar to the Antikythera mechanism from ancient Greece, but potentially more sophisticated. When examined under high-resolution scanning, the disc revealed moving parts, gears and wheels hidden within its construction that could be rotated to perform complex calculations. The mechanism could predict solar and lunar eclipses, track planetary positions, and calculate the precession of the equinoxes. But it also included calculations for stars and constellations that aren't visible from Peru's latitude, suggesting the builders had either traveled extensively or possessed knowledge transmitted from other regions. The chamber contained vessels made from a ceramic material that was unusually light, yet incredibly strong. Chemical analysis showed the clay had been fired at temperatures exceeding 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, far hotter than traditional Inca pottery kilns could achieve. The vessels contained residues of substances that included traces of psychoactive compounds derived from local plants, suggesting the chamber had been used for rituals involving altered states of consciousness. Most intriguing were the manuscripts. Unlike the quipu, knotted strings the Inca used for record-keeping, these were actual written documents inscribed on thin sheets of hammered metal, primarily gold and silver. The script was pictographic, but far more complex than any known American writing system, with symbols that suggested a phonetic component. Linguists examining the texts identified structural similarities to ancient Sumerian and Egyptian hieroglyphics, raising the controversial possibility of transoceanic contact thousands of years before Columbus. In one corner of the chamber, researchers found what appeared to be a laboratory or workshop area. Stone shelves held containers with minerals and chemical compounds, sulfur, mercury, various metal oxides, arranged in an organized fashion that suggested experimentation. Residue analysis revealed evidence of metallurgical processes, the production of pigments and dyes, and possibly attempts at creating alloys or compounds for specific purposes. The Inca were known metalworkers, but this setup indicated knowledge more aligned with alchemy or early chemistry. The most controversial discoveries centered on what appeared to be technological devices. Near the crystal platform, the team found a series of polished metal mirrors arranged in a specific configuration. The mirrors were made from a copper-silver alloy, polished to near-perfect reflectivity. When aligned, they could focus sunlight entering through a small shaft in the ceiling into an intense beam capable of igniting materials or heating objects to extremely high temperatures. But the mirror system had another function. During testing, researchers discovered that at certain times of year, when the sun reached specific angles, the mirrors reflected light onto the crystal platform in patterns that activated some kind of response. The crystal would emit a low-frequency hum, barely audible but measurable with sensitive equipment. The frequency matched what's known as the Schumann resonance, Earth's natural electromagnetic frequency. The floor around the crystal platform showed evidence of unusual wear patterns. Stone that should have been uniform showed areas of smoothness interspersed with patches of roughness, suggesting differential erosion or exposure to energy fields. When scientists measured the magnetic field strength across the floor, they found variations that aligned precisely with the metallic inlay pattern. The entire chamber appeared to function as a kind of resonance device or energy chamber. Water channels carved into the walls added another layer of complexity. These channels could be filled to create flowing water around the chamber's perimeter, and the sound of the water moving through the precisely calculated curves produced acoustic effects that enhanced the natural resonance of the space. The builders had created an environment where sound, light, water, and electromagnetism all interacted in carefully orchestrated ways. Among the artifacts, researchers found what appeared to be batteries or capacitors, pottery jars lined with copper sheets and containing traces of acidic compounds. These resembled the famous Baghdad batteries found in Iraq, suggesting ancient civilizations across the world had discovered principles of electrochemistry independently, or had shared knowledge across vast distances. The ceiling of the chamber revealed one more surprise. When examined with ultraviolet light, previously invisible markings appeared, a complex diagram that mapped underground water channels, mineral deposits, and what might be other chambers connected to this one through a network of tunnels extending beneath the entire Machu Picchu complex and beyond into the surrounding mountains. The dating of organic materials found in the chamber produced results that revolutionized the timeline. Carbon-14 analysis of residues and fibers indicated the chamber had been in use approximately 10,000 to 12,000 years ago, long before the Inca, before even the earliest known Peruvian civilizations. The Inca hadn't built this chamber. They had rediscovered it and built their temple above it, recognizing its importance without fully understanding its original purpose. This explained anomalies that had long puzzled researchers about Machu Picchu. The site incorporates two distinct construction styles: the familiar Inca stonework and an older, more sophisticated style featuring larger stones fitted with impossible precision. The older sections weren't Inca achievements. They were remnants of a much more ancient civilization that the Inca had incorporated into their own constructions. The astronomical alignments built into Machu Picchu suddenly made more sense. The site marks the summer and winter solstices with remarkable precision, but it also aligns with stellar positions from thousands of years before the Inca era. The Temple of the Sun, the Intihuatana stone, and other features were built to match celestial configurations from the end of the last ice age, suggesting the original builders possessed sophisticated astronomical knowledge and the ability to predict how the sky would change over millennia. The elongated skulls depicted in the chamber carvings corresponded to actual physical remains found throughout ancient Peru. These skulls show cranial deformations that some researchers argue are deliberate modifications, while others suggest they might indicate a distinct population with unique genetic traits. The chamber's artwork presented these individuals as builders and teachers, figures who possessed advanced knowledge and passed it to later cultures. The chamber's apparent function as an energy or consciousness-altering space aligned with indigenous legends throughout the Andes. Local traditions speak of ancient star people who taught humanity agriculture, astronomy, and stoneworking. They describe sacred caves and underground chambers where initiates underwent transformative experiences and received wisdom from the ancestors. The hidden chamber beneath Machu Picchu might be one of these legendary teaching spaces. The excavation team made one final discovery that cast everything in a different light. In a sealed niche behind the crystal platform, they found a container made from solid gold, and inside it, a collection of what appeared to be seeds, hundreds of varieties, carefully preserved in a matrix of resin and wax that had protected them for millennia. Analysis of the seeds revealed something extraordinary. They represented plant species from across South America, from the Amazon rainforest to the high Andes, from the Pacific coast to the eastern lowlands. Some varieties no longer exist in the wild. This wasn't just a collection, it was a seed bank, a repository of botanical diversity created by people who understood genetics and conservation. Accompanying the seeds was a final document, a metal plate inscribed with detailed instructions for agriculture, including crop rotation, soil preservation, and even what appeared to be descriptions of plant breeding techniques. The ancient builders weren't just preserving knowledge, they were preserving the biological foundation necessary to rebuild civilization after a catastrophe. The truth about Machu Picchu is that it's not what we thought. It wasn't simply a royal estate or a religious retreat built by the Inca in the 15th century. It's a much older site, constructed by a sophisticated civilization that possessed advanced knowledge of astronomy, engineering, metallurgy, and perhaps energy principles we're only beginning to understand today. This civilization knew a catastrophe was coming, the same event recorded in flood myths worldwide, and they prepared. They built chambers to preserve knowledge, seeds, and tools. They created systems to mark time and track celestial cycles. They left instructions for future generations, encoded in stone and metal so the information would survive. The Inca didn't build Machu Picchu from scratch. They rediscovered it, recognized its importance, and built their own structures around and above the ancient core. The Temple of the Sun was constructed directly over the hidden chamber because the Inca knew something powerful rested beneath, even if they didn't fully understand what it was. The hidden chamber has been opened, and what it reveals is both humbling and terrifying. Humbling because it shows that ancient peoples possessed capabilities and knowledge that matched or exceeded our own in many ways. Terrifying because it demonstrates that advanced civilizations can be destroyed, that knowledge can be lost, and that humanity has had to restart and rebuild before. The seeds preserved in that golden container aren't just botanical specimens. They're a message across time, a warning and a gift from people who survived the end of their world and wanted to ensure that future generations would have the tools to survive the next one. Machu Picchu isn't just a historical site. It's a time capsule, a survival manual, and perhaps a prophecy, reminding us that the cycle of civilizations rising and falling is ancient, inevitable, and ongoing.